What's up, dudes and dudes? Here, and we are back in some more Trove. Another Leviathan video is here. Excuse me that I didn't have a video yesterday. I basically just took the day off because my wife had 2 days in a row off. And so I just was busy doing a bunch of other things. You know, we bought ourselves a Christmas tree while it was on sale, you know, because Boxing Day, because otherwise we were boring friends. Anyways, I don't mean to get into too much of it, but I just wanted to say I have looked at the calendar and it seems like we will just barely be able to finish the Leviathan videos by the end of the year. So I'm going to have to crank these videos out every day in order to actually succeed at that, because it's kind of a mini goal for me. I've got a lot of our videos that I have planned for when we roll over into the next year, as well as more than likely I'll do like a New Year's stream or something like that if I don't get busy with family stuff. But I just thought that I would end up bringing it to your attention. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about the not the gunslinger, Dino Tamer. He's like the gunslinger, but better in every way. So I wanted to kind of explain, first of all, the trick to the Dino Tamer and why he has always been a very, very powerful class. Most of all, it's just because of the fact that if you are managing your timings correctly, you should be able to be in your ultimate at all times. Like non-stop. By the time you end up getting to the next dungeon or whatever, or you know, you should be on cooldown. And the other big reason why this class is just so powerful is because you don't have any energy to deal with, which means that you can just focus on jumping and staying alive. So even back when Shadow Towers were the main thing, this is how a lot of us would end up getting through the Shadow Towers, would be by using the Dino Tamer, because you could just stay up in the air and cause infinite damage to the enemies and stuff, right? Especially if you get them caught in your net, because that'll end up snaring them. Now, one thing that I do end up mentioning in the clip of me fighting the Leviathan, but I did feel the need to mention it now, is the Dino Tamer. There's two main options for playing him. If you end up having a decent Dino Tamer ring, which I don't even think I have a Dino Tamer ring, come to think of it, the tiny T-Rex is going to end up being the best option. It just causes like tons and tons of damage. But you're going to otherwise avoid throwing down your babies, because one of the biggest issues, if I could say it's a problem, with Trove is that a lot of the damage kind of equates to, okay, is the animation of my character worth taking the time to do this versus just continual fire? Right? Like that's just how a lot of the classes work and how the game works. So in most cases, throwing down your babies, as small an animation as that is to throw down the net, it does interrupt your based fire, and their damage is not going to be equal to the amount of damage that you could have been doing while you were doing the throw animation, because you can probably get like maybe 2 or 3 shots off. Not to mention you're going to be constantly throwing the net anyways, which is another animation all into itself. This is something that, you know, this is a rule that applies to all of Trove. It's just with the Dino Tamer, it's very, very obvious. Now, if I look and see, where is my other set of magic stuff? So it would be the Gunslinger, I think, has the gun. No, maybe Dino Tamer does. No. Pirate Captain does, still like the last video. So there's my C4 gun, which you can see has movement speed rather than attack speed. And then the other C4 magic gear that I have is attack speed, movement speed, and then attack speed, crit damage. So you can see my stats were kind of all over the place when I was on the Dino Tamer. As far as I know, I was almost, if not very, very close to having max attack speed, but I just generally don't have the maximum. Like I didn't have the best stats because we had like a second stat reroll event going on while I was recording all of this, and so I couldn't swap the stats off on my gear because otherwise it was going to affect the other gear. Yeah. So anyways, just to give a quick summary, this is basically what my stats were looking like. Granted, of course, it's slightly changed just because of the fact that the Dino Tamer has different stats. It doesn't really matter too much, honestly speaking. The stats that I'm rocking, my class gem is not ideal. just in general, it's not a very good one. But anyways, the main thing that I wanted to focus on is just the build itself, which again, you're going to go for attack speed, movement speed if you're doing dungeons, but if you're trying to focus on bosses, you would sacrifice the movement speed for the crit damage. But generally speaking, I think anyone who is maining the Dino Tamer is probably going to be trying to go as fast as possible through dungeons, because Dino Tamer is actually a really good speed farmer. And then again, you know, get a high enough crystal ring, get it to be the tiny T-Rex if you really want to, and then otherwise for the banner, you know, permatorch, whatever. For the ally, I was using Starry Skyfire just because the increased cooldown reduction means that you can be in your ult more often and use your other abilities. Free range electrolyte, chromatic emblem, just because you would spam, well, you don't need a spam, but you would spam your flask just to end up getting the arcane emblem to trigger, and then coincidentally, you would end up having like your ultimate ready and stuff. And I was using Death Defying just because I'm lazy. Anyways, here's the clip. Yeah, I'm not using the T-Rex ring effect. Anyways, as far as I know, you don't want to summon your babies because it's just taking animations away from holding left click or throwing your net down. And that already has a really long animation. The thing that a lot of people really underestimate with Dino Tamer is how much survivability it has, because it doesn't need energy. Like, you can literally just do this. This is what I used to do when I fought Daughter of the Moon and stuff back in the day. And I remember thinking like, oh, this class has surprisingly got a lot of survivability. Now, there is that Shadow Hunter over there attacking, and we can kind of see by the damage number that it's going a little bit over 25 mil. But frankly speaking, I don't think that Shadow Hunter's doing that much damage. Like, if I stop and let him attack it on its own, he's actually doing decent. Yeah, he's doing decent. But you know what? It's still a good enough showcase to show how strong this boy is. Let me throw down my babies too, just because I'm curious to see if they actually do anything. Go, children, kill! They're doing okay, honestly. But they die so quick, it's just not worth it. The funny thing is, that's still like... it's still better than Gunslinger. Like, it's pretty close, but it's still better. So yeah, excuse me for such a lengthy introduction to this video, but again, I wanted to kind of address some of these things that are happening with the Dino Tamer and just kind of sway your approach, you know, because the thing is, if you're using this character as a speed farmer, can you use it as a boss killer? Yes, most definitely you can. And it's actually going to end up doing a pretty good job. As you noticed in the clip, I kept mentioning how bad the Gunslinger was, and that's just because I actually recorded the Gunslinger clip in the same day that I recorded the Dino Tamer one. It's just that I've been, you know, caught up with other things, so I haven't had time to edit these. But anyways, lo and behold, the Dino Tamer is actually really high in the tier list, I would say, in terms of a class that can just do everything. Because Dino Tamer is also really, really good in the delves, just because the net will actually keep enemies at bay, you know, hold them in place for the rest of your team. And on top of that, Dino Tamer actually has some pretty decent damage. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have a wonderful day, everybody.